Welcome to Bob Cargill's Marketing Show, a ridiculously awesome podcast bursting with insightful commentaries and intriguing conversations on the topics and issues that are on the minds of marketers, advertisers, social media, and PR professionals today. Hey everybody, how are you? This is Bob Cargill of Bob Cargill's Marketing Show. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I appreciate the time, consideration, and support you give my podcast, Bob Cargill's Marketing Show. In this episode, I'm going to be talking to Kashish Jain. Kash is a recent graduate of Northeastern University, the College of Professional Studies, and she and I have partnered, collaborated this summer, the summer of 2025, for a little work together, some podcasting, some of my blog she's helped me with, and some social media in general, my Substack. Hope you will subscribe. I hope you will look me up everywhere on social media and follow me. And same with Kash. I hope you will enjoy listening to this conversation I have with Kash, and I hope you will look her up, say on LinkedIn or anywhere else on social media, and follow her and support her. I appreciate you. We appreciate you. I hope you appreciate listening and watching to my podcast, Bob Cargill's Marketing Show, in this episode with Kash Jain. Hey everybody, this is Bob Cargill, and I am here with Kashish Jain, otherwise known as Kash. Kash, you are awesome, ridiculously awesome, and as you know, I like to say, you are a rock star. I like to make people feel good about themselves and feel that, and you know that you are a VIP. You are very, very important. Your journey matters, and you're sharing your journey online partly when we have conversations like this. Me and Kash, folks who are watching, listening, we're going to have a conversation right now and share some of our thoughts with you. You might be surprised, not necessarily all the social media marketing, motivational sayings I often share, but Kash has some ideas for different questions that I'm looking forward to delving deep into. And I'm just really excited. And folks, I want you to know, everybody, that I am working with Kash. I'm a professor. She's just only recently out of Northeastern University, College of Professional Studies, aspiring marketing professional, aspiring stoic, and she will talk all about that. And we partnered and are collaborating this summer on a few projects. This is one of them. And I'm going to turn it over to Kash to start the conversation.
100%. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Like I always say, anybody who knows you knows that you're amazing, full of energy, as we can see on this call. And Professor Bob is someone who's always motivated me and inspired me to just be my truest self, and he is someone that I've learned the importance of a personal brand from. And I'm glad you mentioned the stoic part, because that's exactly what this call is going to kind of be based on. We're going to talk about purpose and how important it is to monetize purpose, because let's be real, we're living, in a capitalist world, and the focus should not just be on learning and growing and helping people grow with you, but also being able to, do really well financially with that. So let's dig into it. My first question to you, Professor, would be that when you were starting out, like, let's say I'm 25 now, when you were my age, did you ever just know what you wanted to do, or was it more trial and error for you?
That's an awesome question. I appreciate it, Kash. And the answer is no, absolutely. Did I not know the one thing I wanted to do, the one thing I wanted to be when I grew up? I always wanted to be a bunch of different things. And therefore, my eclectic personality, and I lean right brain, very creative, and I'm always experimenting and brainstorming new ways to do new things. I first wanted to be, when I was little, a professional athlete. I loved sports, thought I'd be a ball player someday, football, basketball, I don't know, maybe a hockey player. But that didn't happen, not so much. I also thought of being, believe it or not, a rock star, an actual rock star performer, but I didn't really have the knack for rehearsing and didn't necessarily pick up an instrument and become a master at that. So then I loved writing. I got into writing in high school, and thought I'd be a writer, say for the Rolling Stone magazine, or write about what I loved, write about music. And again, didn't happen, didn't go in that direction. I wanted to be a DJ. I wanted to be a director or a producer on TV. But what happened, and I know this is a long answer, I'll get to the point. What happened is, on the way, and this often happens to people, I now know from experience, I had done so much writing on my own, poetry, fiction, journalism, for my hometown newspaper, my college newspaper. I had the writing chops, I had the interest in music, and I got a job as a copywriter, RCA Direct Marketing, writing copy. That was my career in marketing right out of grad school. So all those different things I thought maybe I'd do, I ended up sticking with marketing all the way up until now.
Yeah, it's so strange when you say that, because anyone who thinks of you, they know that you're doing a lot, but they didn't know how many things you also didn't do, which means, you were just so interested in everything. And I love that, because that shows a lot of passion. But yes, it is physically impossible for anyone to do everything, because, you still got to have a niche, and you have to pick on a few things that you're going to be really good at. Well, thank you so much for that answer. I'm glad you found your footprint, you found your calling. But did you ever think about purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me amend that. I never necessarily consciously, intentionally thought of purpose, but I've always been, I think, driven by purpose, wanting to make a difference, wanting to have people know what I stand for, and have things that I stand for, have an opinion, stand for certain issues, stand for, have certain qualities. So purpose, I live having purpose. I, again, might say I have multiple purposes, if that makes any sense, Cash. But can I turn the tables, if you don't mind? I want to go back to your first question. What about yourself? Are you, because you're a lot younger than I am, I'm the professor, you're the student, let's say. You're not a student necessarily right now, you're early in your professional journey, but fairly recent out of college. What about you? Are you on a single path, or are you thinking of potentially multiple paths to success?
It's a great question. Well, you know how there's a very famous concept called the ikigai. I really do believe in that. The ikigai, it's a Japanese concept where people
Okay,
talk
yep.
about this diagram where there's what you're good at, what people want to see, what you're not good at, and what people would pay for. And I think the intersection of all of that is what passion and purpose is. But then I don't entirely believe in something called a passion without it being practical, because I believe in taking calculated risks, right? So I think there always has to be this one thing that guarantees an income for you. But then if there's anything else that you can manage on the side that you have to build on, you can eventually also do that. And if there's, like, for example, if you want to build a business too, you can leave it. You can leave your job once your business income matches your salary income. But I think till then, it's important to take calculated risks and focus on the money too, because that's what is, going to put the bread and butter on your table. So that's how
I,
I've
I
been thinking about it. So yeah, there's been a balance of the purpose part and a balance of the monetization.
I couldn't agree more, Cash, and I've said this to you before off camera, not before we hit record, when we're not being recorded. I've said I think we're kindred spirits, very much cut from the same cloth, and that is, yes, I took the job in marketing, in business, that paid the bills, and therefore I have been able to pursue many of my passions in marketing. Not so I didn't sacrifice necessarily my interest in music, or my interest in writing, or people, or being sometimes in the spotlight. I'm do a lot of public speaking as a professor in front of the classroom. So I agree with you. You got to be, and it's funny. I would say, use the word, I loved when you said it's at the intersection. It's a much better word than, say, compromise or settle,
Yeah.
because I don't want to ever think I settled for something or compromised what I really wanted, my principles and my goals. So yeah, I guess I'm at the intersection of, like, my myriad of interest and skills. you have to get through life, and it does go fast, as you and I've talked a little bit, and I know we're going to talk a little bit later on.
Yeah, 100%. So, well, that brings us to actually talking about monetization. How did you make sure when you were just, starting out or even like mid-career that this is paying you what you deserve?
It's in my book, Cash, wherever it is back there, the cover, 20 Jobs, 20 Lessons. Uh, I learned a lot of lessons the hard way, and I'll be, again, honest, and maybe nobody's surprised when I say I'm eclectic and I'm right brain and experimental. I've had ups and downs financially. I never made, and this is in my book, money, salary, the Benjamins. I never made that my purpose. I knew I had to make something to pay the bills, but I've always really only worried about making ends meet. Love it when I have a little extra at the end of the month, when we can do some things. Hey, we got a house, my wife and I get kids. We, have had, multiple cars over the years. I get it good. I'm privileged. I feel very fortunate, but I'm not necessarily wealthy money wise. I've found again, I like that word, intersection, intersection of making money, pursuing my passions, speaking, educating, helping, communicating, exercising my creativity. So monetization is critical, obviously. I just don't necessarily lean towards, and I don't necessarily support the notion of money as the be all end all. Because then I don't think you're going to be fulfilled, and then you might not be making a difference in terms of helping people. That, again, easy for me to say, just my thoughts.
Exactly. I absolutely agree with you. That's something I always say as well. When you solve a problem, that means in a way you're helping someone. And when you do that, you do end up making the money. So I think when you solve a problem, big or small, when you solve a rich people problem, that's rare, or you solve a poor people problem, that's common. That's the way to make money, as I've been told by a lot of successful mentors as well.
You are absolutely correct about the solving problems thing. And in fact, I've talked to my kids down in their late 20s and my stepchildren in their 30s. And me and my wife, we both talk to each other about this. What you just said, in the work that you do, you need to solve a problem. And then it's not, and I frankly believe it's nice if you're enjoying the process of solving that problem. And I think in whatever field we go into, you, me, anyone listening, watching, it's almost, I almost feel like agnostic as to the career I chose. I think I could have gone into any career and probably would have had equal passion, equal enthusiasm, equal drive. So I'll make that point. I think it's who we are inside and how we're wired, and you're back to your word, purpose, what we want to make out of our life. And therefore, then whatever direction we go in, I think we're going to, I won't even say be successful, be happy and fulfilled.
Right. That really does matter as well, because I know this for a fact that at the end of people's lives, a lot of times people are not content with the path they chose, either because they had someone judging them or they had some kind of embarrassment and they just didn't try ever. But I feel like when you think of the bigger picture, it really doesn't matter. No one's even watching and we think they are. And in the end, when you realize it's too late, they're like, oh, no one was even watching. I could have just done whatever I wanted. So I do like to focus on the bigger picture of things a lot.
Yeah, Cash, what you're saying is astoundingly to me beyond your years, meaning you're saying things that I absolutely could not have said when I was your age, and had to learn the hard way. My mom always said, actually, when I was a kid, and I don't think she meant it literally, but I did learn this literally as well. She said, you learn by bumping your head. And that's an expression meaning learn the hard way. I did bump my head quite a bit when I was a kid too, because I played a lot of sports and I was a rough and tumble kid. But you, it seems, have the knowledge and expertise and foresight and wisdom and maturity. I could go on and on at a very young age, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you. Well, I wouldn't say that. I'd just say that I'm learning as much as I can and unlearning because that's so important, and we usually forget to talk about the unlearning part. And that brings me to my last question, that have you ever had to unlearn things and you realize you were just
Yeah.
not doing some things right?
Again, fantastic question. I mean, I've never said this, but in a way, life is a series of unlearning um, how things used to be, or how things used to be done, or who you used to know, and learning what's new. Every day is a new day. You also said earlier something about, we think everybody's watching us and paying attention to every single thing we do. Not the case. Even celebrities, not the case. Meaning they are in the limelight and on the front pages and what have you. But life is a constantly changing, evolving thing, and moves extremely fast. And I don't worry really too much about, I learned a ton when I was young. I'm learning a ton when I'm much, much older. And I want to continue to learn till the day I die. And I think that's the attitude I feel that gives me the energy and the enthusiasm. And I like to see it when I see it in other people, such as yourself, Cash.
No, thank you. Well, this episode has been so real. You accepting to the mistakes you've done, acknowledging that you think you're privileged but not wealthy. I think it takes a lot of courage to be able to say things openly. Like when I ask you questions about monetization, we are living in a capitalist world, and it took generations for women to even accept that money is important to them because society would judge you, right? But I don't have any problem saying that, yes, I am money minded. I would like to focus on that because it's important and it's only practical. And
Listen, I agree. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that I think it's a different kind of courage, and it feels great to be able to say what we know that everyone thinks and just keeping it real for everybody.
Cash, you're about the age of my two sons. They're in their late 20s, and my two stepchildren in their late 30s. I tell all of them, all four of them, focus more on money and income than I did in my lifetime. And I'm still going. I mean, I'm still earning money. And hey, maybe I'll hit the lottery someday, or write another book that actually sells a few copies. I'm joking, because my first book hasn't sold all that many, but people are reading it and enjoying it, and that's what fulfills me. But here's what I'm saying. I agree with what you're saying, especially nowadays. This is a tough world in which to live. The United States, tough country in which to live financially. Everything's expensive, only getting more expensive. So focus on money. I agree. And save that money. I agree. Just, I think, as you know, concurrently have that purpose where you know that you're being intentional in what you do, and enough so that you're enjoying life, you're fulfilled. And I do believe if we all help make a positive difference, like how I try to tell people, you are a rock star. If we all told each other that, or if we all supported each other a little bit more, it would be easier for all of us. Everybody would benefit.
That is really true. And that brings me to the end of this podcast. But that gives me another idea about episode two. Like you guys know, we're filming this series together. Episode two, how about we talk about dealing with different kinds of people, dealing with obstacles when it comes to people. Let's keep that as episode two. For now, this was it for our end. This was so much fun filming it. And if you guys have any suggestions or anything else that you'd like to see, we're happy to, take up your suggestion and make a video. So let us know in the comments. And until next time, thank you so much, Professor Bob, for being here with us.
Thank you, Cash. You are a rock star.
Thank you.